go with an effects loop modification for the Rebel 20. Egnater was kind enough to send me this schematic of the mod. You don't really need it, but I'll tell you what it is. I'll try to post it in the description. They didn't say anything about keeping it a secret, but basically in the effects loop on the board there around the op amp, we have a R13, which is a 47K resistor in the negative feedback loop from pin 6 to 7 on the op amp, and R10 is on the input, and it's a 10K resistor, and we're going to swap those two. So R13 swaps with R10. R10 is part of a voltage divider that attaches to a coupling capacitor on the input, pin 3 of the op amp. R13 is part of the negative feedback loop, and we're going to swap those out to see if it lowers the noise threshold on this effects loop, because it is pretty loud. Now, I have tried different pedals, I've tried different power supplies, I've tried different chords, I've tried everything to see if it's something outside of the amp, and I don't believe it is. Sound doesn't change with any volume adjustments, gain adjustments, EQ adjustments. The sound is just always here. It's not swirly or popcornish like a bad tube might be. So just for testing, I'm going to hold my decibel meter right up on the grill cloth. And we get up to 59.5 or so as kind of a peak, 59.5. Now with this off, it is one of the quietest amps I've ever played. Very, very quiet. And so it's, in fact, it's so quiet you wonder if it's even on. So this is with a patch cable through the effects loop. So loop's still engaged. Gosh, that's quiet. And now for testing. Oh yeah, we get up as high as 44, which is super quiet. So 44 to 60 is the noise difference we're looking at in decibels. And super easy to do this mod. The effects loop is readily accessible. Might not even have to pull it out of the chassis. We'll figure out once I get in there. I'm going to turn the amp off, let it sit for a while. I'm going to turn this back on one more time. I don't know if that's coming through this mic here. And there we had a spike of 60. So 44 to 60 is our range that we're looking at. As far as the noise level, we will make this mod and come on back and see if we did any good. Older models of this do not have the mod. You can check your serial number on the back. It's 0708. Serial numbers beginning with that are likely not to have the mod. Older models, if they had the mod, there's a handwritten MO on the serial number sticker. Out here in the garage, just got some pancakes stuffed in my face. Thank you. So here we go. We got this done, but it is not easy because those parts are pretty small. There's our 310. It's 310 because the board is the number 3 board. So that guy right there switches with this guy 313 right there. Instead of trying to swap these, you would be much better off buying new parts to put in because the legs are so long. So don't try to swap these if you do it. Buy a 10K and a 47K and have them on hand. Pull those old resistors out and then just put new ones in. You'll save yourself a lot of hassle. The space is really tight. I ended up having to put some legs on this one, and so it's a little above the board, but the legs were just too short to really work with, so I had to cut some leads off a capacitor and put in there and then solder the resistor to those legs. It's just too tight to work with in there. Alright, there's the op amp, and it's 5532. I don't know, I heard the quality of that op amp isn't the best, but with the loop engaged with a patch cable, it's real quiet, so I don't have any reason to question the quality of the loop components. This is this is the negative voltage regulator, I believe, and then over here, right there, we have the positive one. And one guy on the gear page found that he had a 09 part and like a 7812 part and another 7812, and you have to have a 7912 for the negative rail and a 7812 for the positive rail on this op amp. So that has happened. I happen to have the correct ones in there, and like I said, with a patch cable connected, the effects loop is super quiet, so no reason to question anything that's going on. All right, I'll put this back together and see how it sounds. All right, I don't need to do the phone check because the effects loop is engaged and it's as quiet as the amp is just running. So I'm really stoked. Effects loop dry, and it's not, I don't know how loud it is, but it works. Swapping those two resistors. So I'm just really stoked. It worked. So fantastic. If you rely heavily on an effects loop and you have a Rebel 20 with a noisy one, you can swap those two resistors and it is as quiet as anything. And the amp is by itself is just dirt. I mean, church quiet. One word on the resistor swap. If the middle section of the video doesn't come through, don't try to swap the two resistors that are in there. Buy ahead of time 2 8-watt resistors that are the 10K and the 47K. So buy 2 resistors ahead of time. Take the 2 that are in there and throw them out. And then the space is really tight, so you don't have to clear the holes of solder either. But if you have 2 new resistors with long legs, you can hold on to the resistors with a tweezer or something, and you can heat the legs and get them into the vias, and then just keep working it that way till it's closer to the board, and then trim the back. The space in there is really tight, and trying to work with the old resistors with small leads that are already used and kind of bent up was a real hassle. I had to end up soldering some extension wires or leads to a resistor and do just what I said with it to get it down back in that hole nicely. I had to cut some leads off a capacitor, solder them to the resistor, and put them down in there by heating the leg and then pushing it through the via, because it's too tight to get your solder tip and a suction tip down in there nicely at the same time. So buy new resistors and then put them in, and this is amazing. It turned this amp into something I'm going to really enjoy playing now, because previously the loop was loud enough that it was kind of a hassle. Didn't really care for it because I have to play quiet a lot of the time. If you're playing loud, not that big a deal. Anyway, super cool. So it works. Please subscribe, like, and share this awesome video. It's useful. It's a good time. Old guy jamming out.